Is it recording? Recording.
Yes, recording's on.
Okay, it's 10 o'clock. I am calling the regular meeting of the Board of Directors of the Lincoln SMD1 Wastewater Authority to order. I will lead us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Will the secretary please call the roll?
Thank you. Chair Carlskent,
Here.
Director Andretta,
Here.
Director Holmes, Director Landon,
Here.
all present. Thank you.
We have a quorum. Next item on the agenda is public comment on non-agenda items. Anyone in the public or online that wishes to comment about items under our purview that isn't on the agenda is welcome to do so at this time. Is there anyone public here? Nope. Online?
See no hands raised online.
So end of public comment. Now we go to the action calendar. I would, everyone has had a chance to look at the agenda of the minutes of the last meeting of March 3rd. I have a motion
I'll second.
and a second. Please call the roll. Would you do that?
Okay, sure. Director Andretta,
Yes.
Director Holmes, Director Landon,
Yes.
Chair Carlskent.
Yes.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is the consent items. These are items recommended by the general manager that are expected to be routine in nature and will be voted on as a single vote unless someone wishes to pull for discussion any one of the items. Anyone on the board wish to pull?
Nope.
Anyone in the audience wish to prove an item, pull an item? Online? No.
See nothing online.
I will
Sure, I move approval.
have a motion and second. Roll call, please.
Director Andretta,
Yes.
Director Holmes.
Yes.
Director Landon,
Yes.
Chair Carlskent.
Yes. Next item on the agenda is the general manager's report and update.
Thank you. So you have my written report. Been a busy month and we even had a extra week, but it didn't feel like it. So we're moving along really well with the evaluation of the plant. I won't have any recommendation on that today, but West Yost engineer and the engineer from Stantec are working together. They're providing whatever information she needs and they're getting on the same page. So positive stuff happening there. We are working towards the insurance. As you'll see, that's on an agenda item today that we'll cover later. That has a few things in it. Meeting regularly with the team here on both sides, city and county folks. We moving towards the transfer of assets. So that's a challenge and we'll cover that a little more later as well. And the other things, one of the things that I ended up not putting on the agenda, but I wanted to show you is I sent you some logos earlier. And I'm hoping this is kind of the idea that you were headed with. And so there's three options that look pretty similar, but the fonts are a little different and wanted to get some input on that before we bring it back for a final. So
I personally like the first one. I like the first one the
Yeah, I like the first one too.
most.
You sure?
Okay,
We.
Oh, come
This
on, I
is-
wanted to fight over
this
it.
is even pretty easy and I like it, so.
I like the third one.
Sure you do.
And,
Of course you do.
Oh, go back, George.
Yeah, what happened?
The only difference is the fonts.
Let me go this way, oops. This
All
way,
at
a
once.
little more.
Next is a non-
There we go.
If you notice, there's only a very slight difference
Yes.
Yeah, they look almost
in
the
the first and the third.
Third one just looks nice.
The difference is that the Clarifont both is very close, except that number 3 is very horizontal and vertical. And there's a slight italic. font.
Yes. That's
I
why
don't really
like
care.
it.
So number 3 is
Yeah,
fine.
Yeah,
with me
number
too.
3 is fine. Are you-
They're both so close.
Chair Carlston, the font expert over here.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, you're
I'm
right.
fine with
they're-
3.
What do you?
Whatever you want to do.
I'm good with 3.
Yeah,
I like
it's
it.
fine.
Does it have to be board approval to bring it
Well, it's
back?
not on the agenda. I thought,
No, you can't take action.
No, but
Okay.
he has a
But
consensus
you have the input.
to
I
bring
got
back
direction.
one.
I'll bring it back. I'll bring back one, and then we get a thumbs up or down. All right, thank you for that.
Sure it has the right horizontal and vertical.
All right, I'm
proportions.
gonna have to listen to this part of the meeting a few times.
I just was coming up with the name was the CC.
right.
Very good. We, whatever else, been working with Gary on a couple of kind of operational items that we're building a really good working relationship. Looking at a few minor improvements to help their operations and give us a little more flexibility. We'll share a little more with those when we get some numbers to them. I've been working with the Sigma group for the area. Because one of my larger, longer term projects is figuring out where to get rid of water, to put it as bluntly as I can, what our options are. So we have options for that. So the Sigma group has just finalized a recharge study. And we're looking to see if there's a partnership between LiSWA and that group for recharge, to use some of this water for recharge. And we're also looking at some of the property. Gary took me out yesterday. We did a drive around and see if there's some potential on our own property for recharge as well, rather than having to build pipelines and things to carry them to certain areas. So we're working through on that. Other than that, my main focus has been diving into the charge study and getting that processed and through. So
You mentioned in your report that there were you and Stantec were working on changes to the permit. Is this a re-permit or LiSWA? Or is this the current permit changing?
so
Do you understand my question?
yeah,
Is it because we're LiSWA or because they just want to change the permit?
the timing of our permit renewal happened to just fall at the same time. So we're accomplishing the change to LiSWA at the same time. And Gary can jump in as he sees fit, but there were some evaluations on the Temperature Creek and some coordinations with the resource agencies on the studies and evaluation. The end results are positive for us. It gives us a little more flexibility in releasing to the creek. The changes that we are requesting for the official hearing is what we were working on. And there was a couple of nuances in the study that they didn't capture completely in what they're recommending for their board to approve. So we put in some input into that, and staff's working with us. It seems positive all around.
I guess my question, thought is, are there changes to the minimum and maximum number of acre feet into Auburn Ravine changes?
The changes are temperature, right? It's exclusively temperature, but that temperature restriction adjusts how much we can, how often. Yeah.
Yeah, George has it exactly right. It's just every 5 years, we go through a permit renewal process on the permit for discharge into the creek. And there's no limit. We can do as much as it's capable. Well, I shouldn't say that. There is a 25 MGD limit, but 25 million gallons a day limit, but that hasn't changed.
What about the minimum?
There
Are
is.
there seasonal minimums?
There are still seasonal minimums. There's a couple seasons, October 1st for a month, and then again in April, actually May time period, and there's some minimum discharge requirements there. But that hasn't changed, and that actually doesn't show up in our permit. That was something that got worked out separately when SMD1 went away, and there was some other fishery interest there. I'm not sure all the details there. Yeah.
And to get into the little weeds, one of the things we were asking, there's an averaging component to the temperature. And so there's months where we wouldn't discharge and we weren't getting credit unless we discharge. So technically we could discharge a gallon and be able to average that temperature in. So we're asking them to be a little more reasonable and count those months, temperatures in those months, whether we discharge or not.
I don't know, that's already been denied, but
Has
yeah,
it?
yeah, they're not gonna buy that. Yeah, so it's only when we're discharging. So we tried, yeah.
We'll do what we need to do. Any other questions?
I have other questions.
Nope.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda is the operations report and update.
Yes, members of the board. I don't have a whole lot to share, which is always a good thing, but just to elaborate on a couple details, the power, I don't know if you know that you're owner of a overhead power system. And so we had an issue there last week and blew some fuses and had to get that repaired without incident. It didn't cause any major problems, setbacks. But we are looking at ways we can strengthen the whole power system around the facility. There's a few vulnerabilities that have come to light that we're looking to improve upon. We did have some influent pump issues last week as well after my report went out, but we're looking to get those resolved with the shop, and we're actually looking for another repair shop. But we're not quite satisfied with some of the service we've been getting, so we're looking to make some improvements there. There's one blower on the report there. We have the parts to get that fixed up, and that's going to be fixed hopefully next week under warranty as well. So there was one item in the supplemental packet there that it looks like there was inadvertently an old scope of services that was.
We'll cover that.
Okay, all right. Cover that. But other than that, nothing really more to report. Everything's running really well out there.
There was a chronic bioassay report that you couldn't do for some reason, but 2 required reports. Can you explain, first of all, is that the BOD content report, the one you couldn't, that disappeared, or you couldn't get? And why, and is that required? And what are the two required?
Okay, I'll probably should start with first explaining what a bioassay is. Once a quarter, for discharge into the creek, we're required to test our water, and this gets sent away to a lab that does this. The water gets tested on a very sensitive species. In our case, there's 3 different ones typically used in this area. We use Cerodaphnia dubia. It's a little water flea, and so they take immature water fleas and see if they live in our water and under certain dilutions with the river water, and if they reproduce and survive. And so every once in a while, these tests will fail. You can talk to other plants in the area. They go through the same thing. It's not an effluent violation at that point. This has nothing to do with effluent mandatory fines or anything like that. But it's an expensive test. So it's a couple $1,000s for the chronic side. There's also an acute side where it's that you actually use a more mature fish, a fathead minnow, test the water and see if they survive and so forth. But in this one, it was just the chronic that failed. And so you do a retest. That's the next step. So we actually do 2 retests. And then if your average is, actually in this case, it's the median. So the low, take out the high and the low, and it's the middle one. All right, and that tells you if you pass or not. And in this case, we did. So.
Did you say fleas?
They're water fleas,
Okay, so
microscopic.
We're trying to keep water fleas alive.
We are. That is one of our primary goals there. Yes, yes. So.
If you say so.
Yeah, if you say so.
Yeah. So they tested on a sensitive species, and then they know, okay, the water is going to be good for other species as well. That's kind of the idea.
So, the you have a minimum of 2 tests that have to pass. essentially.
Right, right.
And that's why the words were required testing and not required on the first.
Yeah, if you don't pass those tests, then you go into another phase where you have to do some additional analysis to determine what the source of the toxicity is, and those can get really expensive. I think about 8 years ago, we failed a couple and spent about $50,000 trying to sort that out. Now, I know, for instance, Sac Regional has failed before. They spent $1 million trying to figure it out and found out it was some tubing that was contaminated on their sampler. So very expensive tubing, as it turned out. But yeah, we do everything we can, obviously, to make sure we pass these tests. But sometimes it remains a mystery as to why you don't.
Good to know we could spend $1 million on.
Yeah, I don't expect us to be, sorry, I didn't want to, I don't want to shock you. No, that's not something we would do here, but
Worst case.
yeah, right. But yeah, it's something that happens every now and then.
I have a question. On your written report, you have 2 requests on here. Is that something that is just under George's authority, or is that something that we're supposed to be approving?
I took his requests and put them into the consent calendar.
Gotcha.
was
Oh,
on the
okay. Oh, that's
consent.
what, okay, thank you. Sorry, I missed that connection. Thank you.
Thank you for that, by the way.
Okay.
One thing to add that I forgot in my report, you were talking about BODs. So one of the things Gary and I are working together to try and get as good a handle as we can on the BODs. So we are doing a period of time where we're going to test daily, and we're using multiple labs so that we can maybe get some kind of standing as if it's a day of a week issue, or are we getting different answers from different labs? So we're trying to not going to cost a whole lot of money, a little more effort for staff to collect the samples, but these are expensive decisions we're going to make based on BOD. So we're trying to do our due diligence to help clear that picture up.
Is this part of the peer review thing? Or not separate?
This is separate. We'll feed the information to them for sure, but this is something that, you know, we are all scratching our heads about why, what been happening, and we're trying to get as much information as we can.
Which may end up changing our process for sampling.
Yep, possibly. Yeah, or lab.
Or,
Yeah.
okay,
Thank you.
no further questions? Thank you, Gary. Okay. Item number 5, I think this is something for Mr. Barber.
Yeah, thank you. So we've been working to do everything we can to get all our ducks in a row to get things transferred into LiSWA and be fully operational on our own. Today, so I put this on the agenda, thought we could work out all the issues and have a nice final agreement for you folks today to evaluate, and we're not there. There's still some hiccups and some issues that we need to work out and bring back to you, either at a special meeting or the other piece of this of trying to get it accomplished in time is the later agenda item of the insurance. The quote is good to May 1st, and we were trying to meet that deadline. So we are two-pronged approach. We're going to wrap this up together, and if need be, we will work with all of you to pull together a special meeting. The other option is I've made a request to extend the date on our insurance proposal out another month, because there's another key piece to that is the property transfer. So we've been working with both councils, city and the county, on the property transfers, and kind of hung up with some surveying work on part of it that is finally getting close to coming together. Need that to be able to put the documents together for transfer. The other piece is in the JPA agreement, if you look at the property that was agreed to be transferred, there's a couple of city wells on those properties that we need to make sure the city gets to keep. And so we're working to get easement language or title. We're still trying to come together on a decision. What's the most expedient way to make that happen? So that has to be completed to be able to effectuate a transfer. And so we're hoping the insurance should understand we're a new entity. We're trying to get these things all lined up and give us that extension. So that, so there's no action being requested on item 5 today.
That just amounts to an easement, the city for having a well there, because it doesn't do anything with water rights.
No.
Or are we gonna become the bear?
Well, I wouldn't venture into that territory myself in my role, sir, but I would just say that it is open for discussion, and what we're doing behind the scenes with staff and with legal counsels is.
Yeah,
As the
it'll either
general
be an
manager
easement
indicated.
or fee title. Carve it out either way.
So my question about the work being done to finish up this contract, have you had discussions about what's missing from the contract? I mean, are you aware of some of the concerns, things that, because we're not gonna take action, but
No.
was there, yeah, of course, but there's a couple things that were glaring to me, and so I just didn't know if, do we need to have that conversation, or are you aware of those things?
If you want to point out your concerns, we would appreciate that. We're working with city council and county council.
Okay,
as
so you
well.
can correct me if I missed it, okay, because there's a lot there. You can correct me if I missed it, but there's a couple of things I'm really concerned about. And nowhere in the contract does it address IT or the cybersecurity issues that we are concerned about. Also, there doesn't seem to be like actual costs in here. and no time frame. And also, I'm a little concerned with the position that Stantec is taking of less and less liability, less and less responsibility. Now, you can correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I mean, we pay a lot of money, and it feels like it's like, well, you're just gonna pay us whatever we want whenever we tell you. And I don't like that. I want clear language of what the costs are, what the time frame of this contract is. And there's some huge concerns over, IT and cybersecurity, and that needs to be addressed. And it hasn't in the past. So that's what I felt was missing.
Thank you for that input.
No, I think it's terrific to get that input. So thank you, Director. It's very helpful.
So you're asking the broker or the insurance company to extend their offer another 30 days. And at the same time, we can extend, because I'm not certain that the existence and contract ends also we're at the end of May. Is there extension within it automatically for 30 days? We want it?
Well, currently the agreement between the city and Stantec is in place, and that's the agreement we're working under. And that is good through the end of June.
And
No,
that's good
actually,
until when?
actually,
End of June.
Oh, the end
it's
of-
actually extended to the end of June of next year with the city. So there was initial thoughts when everything was being formed that the existing agreement would be transferred to LiSWA. But that's when we got into the insurance reviewing that agreement and not happy with the protections that the city currently has that they would like us to have.
Okay. Okay, so that item gets moved to either a special meeting or the next regular meeting.
Okay.
Item number
Chair-
6.
Chair, can you ask the public if they have any comments on item 5, even though we're not taking action?
Anyone from the public wish to opine on number 4? Seeing none here.
See none online.
Okay. So now we go to item number 6. Cost of service calculation and the reporting policy.
Thank you. I'm gonna pull up in it. So in the packet, you'll see the policy recommendation. Let me get to it. And on your desks, and available for the public to view is a few minor changes. And I will accept, well, please accept my apologies. I'd gotten some input from the county and the tag group that I missed incorporating into the final product for the proposed resolution. So in that packet on your desk, you'll see some yellow highlights of things that have changed, and it basically adjusting square footage. And in the case of hospitals and those types of facilities, it was decided amongst all parties to go off of bed space rather than square footage. So I came up with a different name, as I said in the memo. The purpose is everybody has a different way currently of calculating an EDU. So I felt it was appropriate for us to have our own acronym and title, so it's clear this is what we're going to bill off of.
I agree that we need our own act. I really have a problem with our
I hear you. It's not easy
Can
to
you come up with a
say.
logo for that?
It's not easy it doesn't roll off of your tongue.
Not like sewer or water or something.
Yeah, I thought of sewer unit, but I wanted to define what we do, which is
Yeah.
treatment and reclamation only. Sewer unit was kind of includes collection, so. We hopefully don't have to refer to that acronym very often, except when we're talking about billing.
I guess.
I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it.
So with that, I'll open up to questions. Thoughts?
And both of our member agency development staffs agree. Square footage, type of
Get some
business,
nodding of the heads out there.
and they love the acronym.
They don't have to love the acronym.
So what is
You're
that?
okay with that?
Wastewater treatment reclamation fee
Unit.
unit?
Unit.
Well, it's, okay. Oh, I see. What's the F on the other one?
Oh, you're looking at the columns.
I was looking,
That's facility.
facility, gotcha, okay. Unit. got it. That's the other one.
Need a motion on this?
Public
Yeah,
comment.
approve.
So-
Public
Oh,
comment.
yeah, you need public.
Public comment.
Public comment, and then the motion needs to state the amendment, right? As amended.
Material.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
This is in perpetuity. Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none online,
Seeing none online.
okay? So now I'll accept a motion to approve and authorize the execution.
As amended.
Motion and second. Please call the roll.
We clarify that motion. The motion is to adopt the policy as amended, as set forth in the materials provided at the meeting.
Right.
All right, thank you.
If I may interject, make sure this is on, thank you. If I may interject, given the general manager's comment about materials, if we could just specify for clarity of the record what those highlighted sections are.
This
Just that
was
we-
published public.
I'd have to defer to the general manager. That's
Say that again.
This updated policy is on the website, was published or not?
I do not believe the updated policy
Okay.
with the
Then you're right.
highlights was,
So we do need to identify, if you'll change your motion as presented in the meeting, which is different than public.
Yes, thank you.
So if you'll, that's including your motion.
All
So
right.
are you saying we need to say the items that are changed, the highlighted items?
I would just specify, just so we do have a clear record, that the policy remains, at least from my view, but subject to the general manager and the board's impressions and direction. The policy remains intact as published. However, according to the general manager, there was some new information that not reflected in there, which is highlighted in what's been distributed this morning, and it relates to the standard factors that start at page 3. And it's on page 4 where there are 2 items as it relates to barber and beauty shops and 2 hospitals. On page 5, there are 5 items. One of those at the top relating to hospitals. The others relate to laundromats, restaurants, bars, deli, coffee shops. So there's just a few specific items there, but just for clarity of record, it would be good to have that established as we've now done. Otherwise, the policy remains intact as published. So the motion could be to approve as set forth in the policy and with the supplemental material described here in the meeting.
So now,
All right. We have a motion and a second. We'll go roll call, Director Andrietta,
Yes.
Director Landon,
Yes.
Director Holmes,
Yes.
Chair Carlskent.
Yes.
Thank you.
next item on the agenda is a resolution establishing our wastewater charges to member agencies. Want to go ahead and
Yes, thank you, Chair. But we'll take this back to the beginning. We presented kind of the framework of this last meeting to you all. And I took that feedback and turned it into took that feedback, created a cost of service study for based on our budget and our financial projections for future debt, et cetera. Put that in a report. Missed the fact that the joint powers agreement was specific that there wasn't going to be rates to the member agencies. It's going to be charges. So I amended that and re-put that out to all parties. I've talking to county and city staff a couple times on this issue. We've had a few meetings. I tried to give you lots of leeway to make adjustments as you see fit today, including the potential of fiscal year 24, not adopting the medium that I'm recommending. After further discussions with the city and county staff, they're actually comfortable with the recommendation that I have put forth for those 4 years being under the medium scenario. What was very difficult to put our arms around as a new entity being created is how do you handle those charges for the months we've already existed? So rather than the original idea of setting a charge for those months, all the parties are in agreement. We're working through the process with the county auditor, city staff, county staff, and I think the fairest way to handle these first 7 months of existence would be to come up with, just reconcile all of the costs to run the entity for those first 7 months and then distribute it according to the JPA on that percentage basis. The kind of accounting features of that are being discussed to make sure we follow auditing standards and any audits will be satisfied, whether we have to cut checks back and forth or we can all tabulate all those expenses, make a calculation and get all the entities to approve it. Those are issues we're working through right now. But it seems to be the fairest way to approach this without just anybody getting kind of stuck in a corner one way or the other. So.
That's the question. Yeah, just one question. Oh, sorry. The medium option that you're recommending, that would allow for us to start kind of building up some reserves, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. That's another key recommendation I'm making actually is kind of delineating operations and capital, both future capital, future debt, making sure this entity has reserves available to us to address those things. The facility's got some age to it. Things come up and we need to be able to be nimble and fix those without having to go through a process.
What's the difference between a rate and a charge?
The difference between a rate and a charge, it's two different words. That's the best I can come up with. It was very specific in the JPA. It wasn't going to be rates. So we have to come up with some
Actually,
verbiage.
It's a charge-
Sean can explain.
a charge that can be
Oh,
passed. through.
okay.
The rate.
Hi, Board, Sean Scully, City of Lincoln. The difference in this case is a rate is something that you charge directly to the consumer that's based off of a study that we have to go through a process. Charge, which LiSWA will charge to the cities, is simply the cost to provide the service. And you all figure out how you're going to charge your customers for it. So that's the technical.
It ends up being a pass through.
Well, you get the big bucks, Sean.
No, I don't.
I have one. I think, the intent, and this follows the intent of the JPA, is for all for one. And so the easiest way to do that is what you've chosen to do, which is actual cost distributed by the formula. My question is that that's easy philosophically, easy logically, financially, because of the audits require it. It ain't fast. So what's that going to do to our cash flow starting next year?
Well, we do have an initial deposit that's been provided from the city through the basis of that initial transfer. So we have some monies to cover our costs. One thing I didn't mention in I did mention in my report, but didn't talk about is the PG&E loan. Hopefully those dollars will be worked out and coming our way. So that's another little cushion as well. And then it really comes down to the one for all for one. We have to watch where we're at, watch what our bank balance is, so to speak. And if it takes a request to get in advance before that final tally's done, then we'll proceed in that direction.
I just didn't want us to have to wait till all of the reconciliation is done before any tax. And the 1.9 is already spent, right? Is for the dock ditch.
Yes.
So, anyway,
It's a good point. We have to watch it.
that's the only point. I philosophically absolutely agree with. I like the fact that we're using the median option. Or it gives us latitude to decide what we're gonna have to do. Covers all cases, so. Any comments, any more questions or comments? Any comments from the public? Seeing none, anybody online?
Yes, I have one raised hand. Nita Racker. I don't know how to unmute her, so hopefully IT's listening.
So if you ever figure out how to mute her,
Are you there, Nita?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay,
Can't see
I
ya.
just, I know, sorry about that. I just wanted to chime in to echo some of George's comments that the members of TAG and met with the county auditor controllers team to discuss the best way to reconcile all the expenses back and forth. And it will be a bit of a process, but we are working on it and committing to ensuring that each of the entities is made whole for the expenses they've paid on behalf on others. And just a reminder of the section in the joint powers agreement. I'm not going to quote it because I don't have it in my head, but I think it's in section 10 that states that should additional funds be needed, that the member agencies would contribute to those funds.
Thank you. Okay. No.
No other comments online. I did want to let y'all know James Fabian, our municipal finance advisor, is here tracking what we're doing. So if you have any questions for him about this decision and how it relates to how we set up for financing, or did you have anything you want to chime in at?
Thanks, George. Good morning. Nothing to add. Been working behind the scenes with George and my colleague Anshu Reardon to look at the financial background associated with the new charge. And, I think that the medium approach works well.
Great, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, since there's no more public comment, I entertain a motion.
Okay. I move that we adopt resolution 2023-02 wastewater charges as presented.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Let's call the roll.
Director Andrietta,
Yes.
Director Landon,
Yes.
Director Holmes,
Yeah.
Chair Carl Skent.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
The next item on the agenda is the consideration that we cancel the regularly scheduled meeting in June, regular board meeting, and set a special board meeting in June. Can we set the month this of June 2023 as having a special board meeting, but not set the date today? And just say that we'll meet the meeting notification requirements whenever we decide it's the right time to have a meeting.
Yes, that's legally acceptable, Chair.
I would prefer that over setting
Fine.
up date now, since we don't know.
Okay.
Okay,
That's fine.
we have consensus on that. So we do need to cancel the meeting, the regularly scheduled meeting.
Yeah, so the motion would be to cancel the regularly scheduled meeting, and a special meeting date and time will be to be determined.
And a notice of cancellation would be posted as well, but we'll work on those mechanics.
Is that because you don't have your calendar with you, Dan? Is that because you don't have your calendar with you?
Well, no. because you don't know how long it's gonna take.
Well, I think this one here is, I mean, that's a good point, but I think we're just trying to accommodate, George has a family vacation.
Yes.
So are you, he's just asking to change it from June 9th to a date later. Am I missing that, or is that
No,
correct?
no, that's correct.
Okay. Yeah, just do it later in June because we're trying to accommodate his schedule. But if you are making the point that we're
sorry.
waiting because he's trying to get stuff done, that's,
I thought it was because trying to orchestrate the contract and insurance.
I will continue to orchestrate that while I'm on vacation, but.
but
Don't
if
do
you-
that.
But his actual staff report for this item just says because he has a vacation, he wants to just change it till later. Yeah,
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to cancel the meeting of June 9th, 2023, the regular board meeting. Set a special board meeting in June of 2023, not at a time certain
Jill.
No, and that probably works okay, well, because there is some pieces that might be coming together. So
Okay.
one date might work better than another.
Okay,
You know, there's some surveying that has to be done. We've
okay.
not been really good about surveying that quickly.
Yeah.
That was my.
Okay, I just, that's fine. If you don't know when you want that done, I just, me personally, it would be better if we could pick a date later in June so that, you know, because, just so we don't pick a date, I'm like, I'm out of, you know, out of town. My daughter is graduating from the police academy later in June, and I want to make sure that so I'm just saying if you had an idea of when you wanted it, but if you don't yet, that's fine. We can wait.
I will, what I can do is work with both staffs to reach out to you and get some ideas.
Perfect.
And
That's
then
fine.
you're not having to figure it out right here.
That's
And
fine.
then we'll get it set.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, we can't have a meeting.
I'll second, by the way. He motioned. I'll
Yeah,
second.
he motioned.
I have a motion in a second.
Thank you. Public comment?
Yeah, see, we had a motion before we were even done having the conversation.
Yeah.
So, and before the public comment and all that. So, I mean,
Anybody want? Throw an oar in the water.
None online.
So I have a motion in a second. Cancel the regular meeting and to ultimately schedule a special meeting sometime.
Thank you. Director Andrietta,
yes.
Director Landon,
Yes.
Director Holmes.
Yes.
Or Chair Carl Skint.
Yes.
Thank you.
Next item. Authorize a budget amendment and execute the necessary documents for insurance. Consider a budget adoption of a adjustment of 330,000. We've already talked about this, right?
A little bit, but I'll just to kind of clarify and set the table. So we've worked diligently. We finally have a firm insurance proposal cost, which requires a budget adjustment. The good news is I was told that it's less than what the city was paying for the same coverage, or they're going to get reduced more than that. I'm not sure how to couch that exactly. But it is more than what we were initially told, and the main driver is property. The property insurance market's very difficult right now, and it's going up. And so that was a main driver. And I'm checking my text just to see. No new news. I've made the request that they extend that date out. Hopefully they'll accept that. But they've not gotten a hold of the folks back east yet who are the decision makers in this process. So been a long path. Hopefully we'll get the extension, but definitely today I need authorization to execute any documents and the budget amendment.
Can I ask what the original amount was? I don't remember.
275, I think.
It's just
Yeah.
Your note on here about cyber privacy coverage, that they're willing to add it for 1,200, but there's no perks to it. So if it's not covering cyber extortion or ransomware, what does that cover?
That's a good question. I'm not an insurance expert. I should have got clarification. I apologize.
I'm wondering if
Don't know if anyone.
if we
asked a
could
friend.
look into that. I don't know. Go ahead.
Sean, City of Lincoln. I haven't looked at that part of the quote. we can get an answer and get it to George. Jen back here is our cyber insurance guru, and we deal with that all the time. So we'll just look at that part of the policy. To George's point about insurance coverage and sort of the delta between what we were paying and are paying, is correct. What will come off of, you see, the plant was covered under a large pool of insurance that covered the entire city, this building and everything in it. What we will have come off of that will be, technically it will be a savings overall. The difference is that the way we portioned it out, it was a little bit different. So you're now covering something, it's cheaper when you're pooling it together with a large, policy. When you're getting one that's just for something finite, sometimes it's a little more expensive. But in terms of just our thoughts about how expensive it was, we thought it was actually pretty reasonable because we were concerned it was going to be quite a bit more.
So if we approved the amendment today, is there a possibility of revisiting to add that on later?
Yeah, we can get further clarification and make the decision to add that later. That's not a key function we need minute one.
Yep, I would appreciate that. Yeah. Yeah.
Put it right in the policy.
Yeah.
Okay. Any comments from the public? Or discussion from
No.
online?
No hands online.
Other comments or discussion on the board? I'll entertain a motion.
Okay, I move that we move to approve the authorization for the budget amendment and execution of necessary documents for insurance through Alliant Insurance Services.
I'll second.
Motion and a second.
Thank you. Director Andreetta,
Yes.
Director Landon,
Yes.
Director Holmes. Chair Carlskent.
Yes.
Thank you.
Item 10, legal.
Good morning. Just more of a status update report as we're, at least myself, is getting up to speed and my team on different issues. It's been a real pleasure working with the city and the county staffs and the legal counsels in-house and outside counsel. In particular, the county's outside counsel, Hanson Bridget, has a shared drive that is now fully downloaded and available to both the general manager and myself through my firm's technological services. And there's a high level of confidence with security and those good things that are incredibly important. With that, my team and I have had to expend time to get up to speed, but as a courtesy discount, wanting to be sensitive to costs, for last month, I did notice a spike, so I applied a 25% discount. And I think it's more of an anomaly, just as we do these things. And certainly with the real property transfers, councils and I think I'll see it the same, that we need to make sure we're each independently having that level of confidence that what's supposed to be transferred is being properly transferred. So that's the extent of my report. Happy to take any questions.
No questions.
Thank you all.
So you're happy operating with the other lawyer.
Yes, how about that?
How about-
It's a good group. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Next item are director's comments.
I just have one. I actually have a request, George. Would it be possible, and I know this is nitpicky, but would it be possible when you put together the agenda, if you could itemize each item in the agenda with a number or some
That
kind
was
of,
my request.
yeah, because you write it out fine, but it's hard to find. It's like you just have it labeled in the regarding whatever it is, but I kind of need you to do it more of like a numbered agenda, if you will,
Okay.
just because it's easier to follow.
All right.
Yeah,
Yeah, numbered pages would be
Yeah.
super helpful.
yeah.
Numbered pages.
Yeah, if it could, it would be super helpful for me if on like on the actual agenda, if for item 1, it said
Yes.
page 23 or, item 3, page 47. Does that make sense?
Right.
But also when you format it, so you have the title of the meeting and all of the intro stuff, and then, item, 8A or B8, whatever,
Gotcha. Because I have numbers, but
Yeah.
only in one place.
Yeah,
That's not
yeah.
helpful.
I would really appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
We're on the same page.
Very good. You just told my people.
Seeing no other director's comments, let's adjourn this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank-
much.
thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
it.